I do a lot of interviews, and I don't know if I've gotten as personal.
Didn't trust yourself. I know you can't survive, but it feels like sometimes you need to cry. The little stars and the locked up dreams, the missing pieces.
What's going on, everyone? We know something is. It's your girl, Big Keisha, and you are tuned into another episode of Black Mothers. Today, I am interviewing none other than the Tiffani Hawes. She is an absolutely amazing woman. Seems like she wears so many different hats. She's first a mother, she's a wife, she's an incredible businesswoman, she's successful, and she's a creative, okay? Because I know y'all see that content she's been creating. So Tiffani, you are all those labels: mother, superwoman, wife, businesswoman, but take all of that away. Like, who are you uninterrupted at your truest core, like your essence? Who are you?
I think because I'm all of those things, mom, wife, business owner, and it consumes so much of my life, it is very difficult to even tell you who I am at the core. I've been doing this mother thing for 17 years, business owner for 10 years. And I think, just like many women who are in my space, it gets complicated. And so I think within the last few years, I've been pulling back some of that business and pulling back some of that motherhood to focus on me and putting myself first. And so when I think about who I am at the core right now, I just think that I want to be peaceful, and I want to be around peaceful things and enjoy whatever each moment has, because I am a thinker. I am I need to make sure that this is done, that is done, this is done. And that's how my life has always been. So I'm reshaping like who I am at this point to kind of not identify so much with all of those things and just identify with whatever the moment is, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. So I've watched pretty much all your interviews. Like, I read them all, and we just talk about you being a businesswoman and how you became so successful. But this is why I really wanted to talk about you being a mother, because that's a huge part of who you are. It is who you are. It makes you who you are. And I feel like motherhood gives women that extra drive. So I was ask you, like, what's one of the biggest sacrifices you've had to make, like, as a mother, and like, how did you push through it?
I think being a mom, just in general, is a sacrifice. It really is no longer about you. Your money is not yours anymore. Like, nothing is yours. But I don't necessarily look at it as like me sacrificing anything, only because when I got pregnant, my son will be 18 this year. So when I got pregnant, I was super young. And so I was like 20, 21 years old. And so I identify more with being a mom than I do identify with anything else. Because of course, when I was a kid, it was just being a kid. But my whole adult years has been a mom. So it's not a sacrifice. It's just almost like a way of life. Yeah.
How did you find that balance? Because when you did get pregnant with your son, you were going to law school, right?
Well, that was my second son.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I got pregnant with my first son, I had just finished. I got pregnant my last year in undergrad. And just how my mind is wired, it was just like, okay, you're pregnant, but you still want to go to law school. So how are we going to figure this out?
Yeah.
And so instead of going to law school immediately, I had to take the softer route, which was going to be a paralegal. And it allowed me to have my kid. I used to bring him to the little paralegal school with me. And so for me, it was just another thing. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a mom and now I have to sacrifice everything that, all my goals and dreams and wishes. I just took him along with me. It was just like, hey, I still want to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm like one of those strong-minded people. You ain't gonna catch me out here. You know what I'm saying? Not having my own and being my own and doing the things that I said I was going to do just because, this kid comes along. So.
And yeah, I noticed that. It was like, okay, she still went to school. She decided to just take another route. you were going to school and then you were going to work right after and with a child. So now reflecting back at who you were and knowing that, okay, balance is important now, and looking back at that girl, like, what would you say to that girl?
I think every part of life is necessary. I don't think balance is necessary when you're young. I think you have to sacrifice your balance. You don't even think about balance because when you're young, it's time to get at it. You know, you have more energy. You have, you know, you just have a lot more than what you have when you get older. And so I wouldn't tell my younger self that, oh, you should have slowed down or you should have done more self-care. You know, all the young people are soft life girls and self-care girls now. But when I was young, it was more about let me go ahead and get these goals done and all of that. And so I would tell her to shoot, go harder. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you know, having a kid, you know, kind of delayed a few things for me. So I would never encourage being a young mother if you don't have to be, you know, but it also motivates. I feel like kids motivate moms and women anyway. Like it takes you to a whole nother level because it's no longer about you. But I definitely wouldn't encourage my younger self to find balance. It's like find that when you get older, because now I'm 10 years in and I can chill a little bit. You know, I can take a week vacation and go with my kids. I can, you know, leave work at 2:00 and go pick up my kids from school if I wanted to, or go to their gymnastics and sports whenever I want to, because I've built, you know, that ability to do that when my kids were younger, when they didn't even know or care about me showing up. You know, like my baby, as long as they're fed and, you know, they're good, like they don't care, you know. But as the kids get older, you know, they want mom and dad to definitely be there, you know. So me being that when I was young and being motivated and getting it all done has put me in a space now where I can find balance, like real balance. Balance means nothing if your bills can't be paid, you know what I'm saying? So,
right. So it seemed like you just had tunnel vision. You just had tunnel vision. Now, also, were there moments where you felt like, okay, I need to unlearn this and I need to heal from this because I don't want to bring this into motherhood and being so young and learning from going through it?
I don't think the healing part came when I was younger and coming up, because the focus was so much on, you know, raising your young kids and all of that. And you don't understand the effects of having that television until the lights really go off, you know? So what you're talking about happened to me a few years ago, where it got to a point where I had to find balance. You know, it's like when you're young, you can do all this stuff and work. But as you get older, your peace of mind and you needing a break, you know, when you're on social media all the time, when you're dealing with people all the time, when you're having to be a mom, you're having to answer to your husband, you're having to do all these things, like your brain gets to a point where it's at capacity. And when you're younger, you may feel those things, but you may not understand it. But as you get older and your capacity for things has changed, you know, you just don't have the energy and all that. And then at some point it all got to me, and, you know, I had to sit down, not because I wanted to, but my mind was at capacity and it told me to. And it was like, you better sit down and really focus on self and healing and all of these things. So I've been in therapy for probably like 3 years now. And so I would say 3 years ago would be the time where that reflection has taken place.
Growing up, did you know any woman in your family that went to therapy?
No.
Or sought that outside?
Absolutely not.
So what are being a young mother, did you take any traits from your mom and like how she raised you, and that's what helps you just keep going?
Absolutely. So my mom was a parent that taught her kids how to be adults. So you're talking about 3-4 years old, knowing how to cook, knowing how to take care of yourself, knowing how to clean yourself. Like, you know, I see some parents with young kids that are still bathing them. Like my mom wasn't having, she taught us how to do all these basic things in life. So she raised me and my brother to be very independent, not necessarily having to rely on people, and just being able to take care of ourselves. And I think with her being a single mom, and when I say single mom, I'm not saying without the help of my dad, because my dad was always present, but they weren't together. And of course, we were with her more often than not. She just was laser focused on life. And so with my kids are young, they know how to cook. My 17-year-old, when he turns 18 this year, me and my husband are going to redraft our wills, and our kids are going to go to him. We have full faith that he can take care of our family, finances, all of those things at the young age of 18. So I would say that how I parent definitely mirrors exactly how I was raised.
Amazing.
Except I don't whoop my kids.
There are some cycles we are breaking out here. Okay.
I needed to be whooped, though. I knew it, but I don't whoop my kid.
I didn't. No. Are there any other cycles that you're breaking?
For sure. When you're growing up with, plenty of us in the background have stories of, substance abuse, whether that's drinking, whether that's doing other things, because that's how the older generation coped with everything. They didn't use therapy. They didn't use good positive coping mechanisms. They used what they had. And so within my family, alcoholism is like something that really runs really heavy throughout my family. And with me, now I honestly don't even drink at this point. Not that I intended not to drink. It's just as you get older, things, don't work with your body as well. But my whole life, I've been conscious of that. And so anything, whether it's drinking, whether it's medication, whether it's anything, I try not to form any habit, because of course, that alcoholism thing, when it runs through your family, all it takes is that one time. And so I don't even put myself in a position to create that habit or those bad things. So definitely breaking the chain on substance abuse with my family, and more positive coping things, such as going to therapy and just doing a lot of self-reflection on self, rather than and taking accountability for things, rather than pushing those things on other people.
Absolutely. And I could definitely relate to that, because like growing up, I felt the same way. Like my mother was addicted to drugs, and I was born addicted to drugs. So thank God I'm still here. So all my life, I always told myself, like, okay, like God gave me a second chance, because I wasn't supposed to God gave me a second chance. So if I don't do right with this, like I'm out of here. Like I'm out of here. So like I always had tunnel vision as well. Like, and that's what drove me to just having tunnel vision, just go, not really looking at other things, not healing other things that I should. But it did give me that drive that I am grateful for.
Yeah.
So, and you now getting older and having that moment a few years ago where you're like, whoa, I need to stop. I need to slow down. I need to take care of Tiff. Like, how have you learned to give yourself grace, and how do you give yourself grace?
I do the best that I can, and that's in being a mom. I don't feel guilty when I need a moment, and I tell my kids when I get home from work and I say, Mom, you need some moment, I need you to leave me alone, and I don't feel guilty about it. As a wife, if I don't feel like it, I don't feel like it, and I don't feel guilty about it. As a business owner, not that I love firing clients, but if you don't align with what's gonna be peaceful for me and my employees, because humans are humans, and humans always try to find, wrong in everything, and they want to complain about something. And if you're not like resolution based, and if you're not on my team, if you're not Team Tiffani, I love sending out my template email. This relationship is not working. Please find another closing attorney. So I think my way of, finding that balance now is just creating those boundaries and telling people no and not feeling bad about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's that.
No.
Right. it's also, there's like that balance in the grace too, because all you hear is like, oh, give people grace, and people might mistake it for like, oh, just forgive people and just like, just brush it off or something. But no, it's also establishing those boundaries.
And grace is a big thing too. Like, I understand humans and how we are. And, being in therapy, you really learn how anxiousness pushes people's, their responses, So when I have somebody or see somebody who's angry at me or, who's in a negative space, I actually have empathy for that person, because I can't imagine what you're going through on the inside that's making you respond that way. If something goes wrong or doesn't, go as planned, none of us should respond in a way where it's the absolute end of the world, right? Because if you got a call about a cancer diagnosis or about your mom getting into an accident or about, your kid getting hurt at school, and, you have a work-related issue, which one is going to take precedent? This over here. So it's like people have to understand that these are not real emergencies when you're talking about work-related things or anything like that. So if something goes wrong here and you are reacting as if your mom just died, it's a problem. You don't understand. You don't know how to control your anxieties. You're letting your anxieties control you, But I'm in that therapy place, and so I'm able to identify it. And I do give people grace, like, man, you must really be suffering.
Yeah.
It don't mean I don't get irritated or I'm not mad, like I still will get irritated and I still will be mad sometimes, but the world won't see that. They won't see it.
So what was the cause of that breakdown? Because just from the sound of it, you've always been very confident, very sure of yourself, confident that you're capable. So like where did that stem from? Because when I think about it, like when I think about myself, like even coming here and as I'm growing, and it's like, okay, I'll feel maybe a bit of anxiousness, like, okay, this is like really happening. I'm exactly where I prayed to be. Like I am capable. But words of affirmation to knock it out. But like, what was the cause of that breakdown? Like mentally, like nothing outside of you, but like within you.
I think it didn't have anything to do with whether or not I felt capable. So I always feel capable. But I just think that our bodies, our mind, it needs rest. I think that the life that we all live right now, we're constantly on social media. So our mind is constantly going. When you're at work and you're dealing with people, your mind is constantly going. When you're with your kids and you're always doing something, it gets to a point where your body just needs a break and your mind needs a break, because what it is it's my mind says I have to get all of this stuff done. And what my mind would do is I would think about all the things that I would need to get done, and I would try and get them done, like no matter what, no matter how I was feeling, no matter what was going on, all of that, because my brain was telling me if it didn't get done now, something bad was going to happen. Somebody was going to be mad at me, or the project was not going to be done, or my business is not going to be successful, or my kid is not going to be successful, or I'm not going to get this, or I'm not going to get that. So it was the fear of, I think, probably failure, that if I didn't do what my mind was telling me needed to be done, that I was going to fail. And it just got to a point where I couldn't get everything done. And so you have that fear, and you have your body telling you to stop. And both of those combined was just a catastrophe.
Yeah. So, because I had a moment too last year where I was doing so much and I'm like, I gotta go. I was always in tunnel vision until God literally was just like, just stop, be still and shut up. And in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, like I'm really being still. I'm not doing anything. I'm not pursuing anything. Like it was kind of hard to just chill. So like, how was that process for you? And then when did your mind shift?
So for me, it wasn't a choice to chill. Like it was literally, I was at work it was the end of the month. We were super busy. Like in real estate, end of the month is super busy. And I had to do a task, but I couldn't do it. Like it was something I do every single day. And for some reason, my mind couldn't grasp whatever the small task that I needed to do. And I was just like, and I couldn't push through. So then of course that, instilled fear in me. And I got super anxious and ended up having a panic attack. And I called my husband and I said, you got to come get me. I don't know what's going on right now. Because again, it's like, for me, I just need to get it done. I need to get it done. There were so many other symptoms. I remember I would go to my kids' game, leaving work, rushing, and I would go watch them play. And then I just couldn't remember where I parked. And it's not like it was a crazy place of like a bunch of parking lots or anything, but I couldn't grasp the concept of how I got there, where my car was, how I ended up, where I was. And all of that. And so there was like little things that now that I look back, I'm like, yeah, I was in the hole, a long time before, my mind just shut down. And so for me, it wasn't a choice. Like I wasn't like, oh man, I should be doing this. It was like, I could not do anything. Like I was literally stuck in my house crying because I was so fearful of, it was like your nervous system was just on fire. And you cannot put out your nervous system like in a day or whatever as on fire as mine was. So it literally took probably like 3 months of not working. My husband, he quit his job at that time to kind of take care of me and make sure, I was good, and to kind of just remove all social media, like anything that would require my mind to just be in any type of loop. And I focused on running because I'm not a medication person. So for me, I can't go get on anxiety meds. Some people need to, but for me, I couldn't do it because there was a fear behind that as well. Like, what if I get addicted or whatever? And so I implemented like running, and that gives you the natural medication, and it takes months for it to like really take effect. And so I just focused on me at that point. So I had no other choice but to focus on me. I think my kids were terrified. They didn't, my husband still had to like make sure they got to where they needed. And my older son wasn't involved in like a lot of extracurricular activities. And so I would make him stay home with me if my husband had to leave, and I would just hug him and cry. And, for him, he's a teenager, so it's probably weird. But, my kids they were definitely like, what's going on with mom or whatever. But, it was just my body said enough.
Yeah. And then the shift happened.
So, and I also believe that everything happens for a reason. Number one, I appreciated my experience, because now when I see the signs, I can identify them and I could slow down immediately. So those signs don't keep happening until I fall into, whatever deep, dark hole that I was in before. The minute any symptom pops up, I'm on it. And when I was going through therapy, I began to find an appreciation for anxiety. If I didn't have the anxiety, I wouldn't have the push, the tunnel vision that I have. My husband has no stress at all. He's not anxious about anything. And it also takes him God knows how long to finish one task. For me, with that anxiety pushing me, it has allowed me to get to where I am at such a short, short time frame. And so appreciating the anxiety, like really slowing down, like the shift definitely happened. And I appreciated it because as soon as I was feeling better, there was an opportunity for me to be on television. And with that opportunity, my staff had to be able to run everything without me being present. I wasn't present here for 3 months when I was recovering. So that allowed me to give up that power and be okay with not being here and feeling like I had to be the one to run everything. Because I needed that for when I started filming the television show, because of course we filmed all the time, and I still needed to, I wasn't making money off this television show, you know, I made money off my business, so I still needed to make sure that it ran.
Mm-hmm.
And so the shift happened when it needed to happen, because I was moving into a different space in my life.
Right. So it wasn't like an aha moment, or it's just like more so you gradually getting into the feelings and being able to control and know when to surrender as well.
Yeah.
And recognize the signs. Because I look at anxiety too, like if it's stemming up, it's like a signal to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a signal, okay, stop right now. What are you thinking? What are you thinking right now? And then regulate your thoughts. Now, so when that shift happened, although your kids might have not understood like in the moment, how did they come to understand afterwards? Like what was wrong with mommy? Like what did you explain to them? And like, will this ever happen to mommy again?
You know, we have real conversations. I don't sugarcoat anything for my kids. So we talk about it, and I told them and I let them know. But my kids are very supportive. You know, they let me know at every moment, Mommy, I love you. I'm here. If I cried, they came and gave me a hug. So my kids were a big part of my support system, because I can't be here for y'all if I'm in this state. But there was no judgment from them. It was no like, you know, scared in the sense where they didn't want to have anything to do with me. It brought them closer to me. It was like, I love my mommy. You know, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna hug her. I'm gonna be here. So we had real conversations. And I think it was good for them to see it too, because you're not gonna always have great moments in life, and these things teach us. And now I have the ability to give them the coping skills that I didn't have. Remember, our parents went to substance abuse. Now my kids, like I said, my 10-year-old, he's going through a really emotional time, and he gets angry all the time about stuff. And instead of me getting angry because he's angry, I'm like, baby, at this point, you just need to take a moment. You need to go breathe. If you're angry, I don't need to make you inflate the situation. You need to take a moment. So go outside, take a walk, go play basketball, go do something. Let your emotions calm down, and then let's pick this back up. You know, when we would get angry as kids, you know, like, yeah, don't talk to me that way, and
I'll give you a reason to cry.
Yeah, I'll give you a reason to cry and all of these things. But for me, it's like, no, I want my kids to be emotionally intelligent.
Right.
And so we just had real conversations about it.
And I love that. And kudos to you, because that's another cycle you're breaking.
Yes, for sure.
That is absolutely another cycle you're breaking. And I'm just smiling about it, because it's like, oh my God, I could feel the healing. I could feel the peace that is happening for your family. Like even your kids, like at such a young age, where now they'll know how to regulate their emotions getting older, and they won't pass that on to their children. And now truly understanding that, like as a mother, and you know, we talk about us being raised. Well, how have you learned to like really, you know, give your mom grace and forgive her? And what do you appreciate the most about her?
I think, you know, me and my friends talk about this with our parents and with our mothers. We love them. And, you know, they talk about our generation as being woke. You know, like we believe in therapy and we believe in all these things. And we look at our moms and we know the trauma that they've gone through, and we know how that trauma has now led them to be who they are, you know. But for our parents, for our mothers, I don't feel like our mothers are where we're ready to go through the fight of working through those feelings and working through our trauma. I don't feel like our mothers feel like they're capable of that. And so instead of working through their trauma, it's like, I still want to suppress that. And I still want, you know, how I feel is how I feel. And this is how I am. But, you know, the power of understanding and really going through those things so that they can give themselves grace and really live like a freer life, you know. For them, it's like, oh, these kids are on this therapy, this, that, and the other. But we all have trauma. And, you know, my mom, she went through a whole lot. I couldn't imagine going through what she went through, raising us and just living the life that she lived for, a very long time, and just going through that. Like, I couldn't imagine. But because I'm on the other side, and I don't want to minimize my trauma, but whatever trauma that I had is in no comparison to what I feel like my mom went through. But me working through the little trauma that I have, like, and the freedom and the peace that comes with that, I can only pray that our mothers and their generation would be open to the opportunity of feeling how I'm starting to feel.
Mm-hmm. Amen. I pray that too. Yeah, I really do. I love it. Well, thank you so much. So much. You are amazing. You're incredible. You are inspiration. And thank you for taking the time to answer the questions and getting personal.
Yeah.
But I would like to personally congratulate you too on your 10th year in business.
Yes, I am.
So I have
my
a
10th year in
gift for
business. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate that. And thank you for having me. I don't know if, I do a lot of interviews, and I don't know if I've gotten as personal with parenting and all of these things. I'm probably going to get hit by a lot of these older people because I don't make my kids say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. But,
it is what it is. I love it. And I absolutely thank you.